The Globe and Mail said, and I quote, the Liberal government lost control of Canada's immigration system, highlighting that there are now 30,000 people who have been ordered deported that the Prime Minister has now lost track of.
Like everything else.
What's his plan to find them and deport them?
There's a lot of nonsense happening in Canadian politics right now. You have our fall economic update, which was supposed to be tabled weeks ago, maybe even months ago, is being done on Monday. One day, 24 hours before all politicians take off for the winter holidays. So there's literally no time for debate. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But more importantly, earlier this morning, the Bank of Canada came out and they said, hey, we're doing everybody a solid. We're doing everybody a solid. And we're bringing down interest rates by 50 basis points, which is huge. Huge. It's a lot. It's a lot. Now, what does this mean? Does it mean we're doing good economically, or does it mean we're heading into a recession? Well, I have answers. There's going to be some answers in this video, and there's going to be answers in another video later on tonight. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage y'all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. What we're going to be taking a look at today is the tensions in Parliament between Pierre, the Conservatives, and the Liberals, and how they've been bashing Chrystia Freeland for, hey, give us a deficit. Are we in a $40 billion deficit? Are we in a $60 billion deficit? And now we're going to be taking a look at our interest rate. It's going to be a hot topic, so I hope you stick around for the full question period highlight video. Let's get right into it. Oral questions! Questions Honorable Leader of the Opposition to be next Prime Minister Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
This week, Prime Minister has lost control of the borders, lost control of immigration, lost control of spending, debt, and inflation. Now he's lost control of his own cabinet. Yesterday, the Globe and Mail reported that there's a big fiscal feud that has broken out between the Prime Minister and his finance minister. At stake is that she wanted to run a gigantic $40 billion deficit, but that was her guardrail. And now this Prime Minister is pushing her through that guardrail and pushing all Canadians off the fiscal cliff. Why?
The right honourable.
Let's see him not answer the question.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader likes to make up little dramas to try and distract Canadians from the fact that he voted against a tax break for all Canadians. He's trying to hide from the fact that he continues to muzzle his own MPs so they cannot be their community's voices in Ottawa, instead being his voice in forcing them to face billions of dollars in cuts to housing programs. He continues to refuse to get his security clearance because he doesn't want to keep his own MPs safe from foreign interference. That's why he's trying to distract Canadians from what's going on.
Give me a break.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Muzzling, Mr. Speaker. His Liberal MPs are not speaking out against him because he's allowing so much liberty. It's because he's so weak. There's nothing worse than a weak bully. He's now cracking down on his own finance minister, some feminist. On this side of this house, I lead by inspiration while he leads by intimidation.
Yay!
Once again,
House Speaker put his hands up.
my inspiration and stand up for the promise that he made to keep the deficit under $40 billion.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, we see very clearly for the Leader of the Opposition, it's all about him. Well, for us, Mr. Speaker, it's all about Canadians. It's all about giving Canadians a tax break over the next 2 months that the Conservative leader voted against. It's about delivering dental care to 1.2 million Canadians, where 3 million Canadians are already approved to access dental care in the coming year. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, we continue to be there for Canadians. He continues to be there for himself to try and block the help we're delivering to Canadians to make sure everyone thinks everything is broken because he's busy breaking it.
How is he busy breaking it? He has no power. He's an opposition party, you freaking moron.
Order.
You're the government. If anything is broken, it's literally your fault, Trudeau.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He's been Prime Minister for 9
There you go.
View the chronology. So not even 8 months ago, his minister said the deficit would not exceed $40 billion, the guardrail. Then he went and got his banker friend, Carbon Tax Carney, to become his top economic advisor, stripping the power away from his finance minister. And suddenly, the guardrail was broken. Is he really going to subject his finance minister to the humiliation of reading Carney's fiscal update, which busts through the guardrail?
No! No! They're replacing Freeland in front of our eyes.
Mr. Speaker, this morning the Bank of Canada announced interest rates are going down yet again. That is terrible news for the Leader of the Opposition, but it's great news for Canadians for whom things will become more affordable. On top of that, a tax break out for Canadians over the next 2 months that the Leader of the Opposition voted against. Why, Mr. Speaker? Because he cares more about his own political interests than he does about Canadians who are struggling. Oh, he'll talk about the challenges Canadians are facing to try and instrumentalize them for his own gain, but he won't lift a finger to help Canadians.
Bro, you are done.
Donald Trump is a bully, and bullies prey on weakness. When Trump says jump, the Prime Minister says how high. And when Trump trash talks Canada, the Leader of the Conservatives repeats that garbage. And when Trump trolls Canada, hundreds and thousands of Canadians worry that they might lose their job. Why won't the Prime Minister fight back and protect Canadian jobs?
The Right Honourable
Yes,
Prime Minister.
somewhat of a point.
Mr. Speaker, the job of a Canadian Prime Minister is to stand up for Canadian jobs, for Canadian workers, the Canadian economy. That is exactly what we are doing with a level of serious and a level of focus and, quite frankly, a Team Canada approach that brings together, the Premier brings together different actors from unions, from businesses, from expertise across the country. That is why we will continue to take this seriously, not freak out like the NDP or repeat the attacks like the Conservatives. We will stand up for Canadians like we have before, as we will again.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Here we go.
Quote, Finance Minister, 2022, this is a line we shall not cross. Then she listed 3 lines. 1, that the deficit would only go down. It went up. 2, that she would pay off the COVID debt. Not only has she not paid off a penny, the debt has gone up. And 3, that the debt to GDP ratio would only drop, and it has risen. Did the finance minister voluntarily cross her own lines, or did the Prime Minister push her?
Wow. He has a history of pushing women.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is once again putting on his little dramatic acts because he is trying to distract Canadians from the core facts. Interest rates are down again. Canadians will be getting a tax break over the next 2 months, despite the best efforts of the Conservative leader, who once again, twice this past week, saw that this House has no confidence in him.
You don't elect the Prime Minister, dipshit.
Canadians are now approved for access to dental care for the coming year. These are things that he stood against, but Canadians are getting anyway.
Politicians don't elect the Prime Minister. Get that through your freaking head.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is silencing his own finance minister. She was already wildly irresponsible with the public purse, but not irresponsible enough for him. She wanted to keep the deficit at a already massive $40 billion. He said it's not enough. Canadians are not paying enough inflation, according to him. So once again, did she voluntarily smash through her fiscal guardrail, or did he push her?
Woo-wee!
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition puts on these little performances because he wants to
Put one on too. You're a drama teacher.
from the facts. We have the lowest deficit amongst G7 countries and will continue to. We are the third largest receiver in the world of foreign direct investment, number one per capita in the G20, because countries around the world and companies around the world have confidence not just in Canada but in Canadians. The question that people should ask is, why doesn't the Leader of the Opposition have confidence in Canada or confidence in Canadians?
He does. That's why he's calling for an election. He thinks Canadians are going to make the right decision.
Colleagues are very enthusiastic to participate, but I'd invite them not to take the floor unless recognized by the Speaker. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canadians do not have confidence in him, nor does his own party or his own cabinet, nor apparently does the Bank of Canada, which today was forced into an emergency panicked rate cut to confront the collapsing economy. The governor of the bank said the economy is softer than he expected it would be, and despite the fact that inflation is rising, that all four measures of it are above the target, he's being forced to cut the rates to save the economy from outright collapse. When will the Prime Minister stop breaking the economy and call a carbon tax election so we can fix it?
Again, I'm going to ask members not to take the floor unless recognized by the Chair. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mais c'est carrément du
This is completely
Oh, sug on these, bro.
in English. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, he's just making this stuff up in a way you couldn't believe. Inflation has been within the target range of the Bank of Canada for over 10 months now. This is because we have been there to help Canadians with things like dental care, like a school food program, with investments that are growing the economy in a way that has brought down inflation and allowed the Bank of Canada to cut rates faster than just about any other G7 country. We are there for Canadians. He's the one voting against things.
Give me a break. Come on, Pierre. Clap back.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
You know what's up? Inflation's up. Unemployment is up. Inflation is up. It's not only up, every single measure of inflation is now above its target. Unemployment is up. It's at 10% in Toronto now.
Order. I didn't hear any of it, Greg. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Please start again.
You know what's up? Inflation's up.
Yep.
All four measures of inflation are now above target. Unemployment's up. In Toronto, it's over 10%. You know what else is up? Housing costs. They've actually doubled. They've risen more than in any other country in the G7. You know what else is up? Food bank use is up. It too has doubled, with 2 million people lined up at the food bank. And you know what else is up again? The promise-breaking inflationary deficit. So why doesn't he tell us, if he's figured out how to count, what the deficit will be this year?
Wow, man. There you go. Yeah, Freeland's hiding today. She's not even there.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, one has to take a moment to appreciate how difficult it must be to be the Leader of the Opposition at a time when things are getting better for Canadians. He spends all his time, and has for the past... That's enough.
I'm going to ask members, please.
Pierre's speed scroll on his phone.
From Portage, Lisgar, as well as
Put a bunch of hi Pierres in the chat.
floor,
Hi, Pierre.
unless recognized by the Speaker. I'm going to invite the Right Honourable Prime Minister to start again.
Mr. Speaker, the challenges faced by the Leader of the Opposition is that he's spent so long explaining to Canadians that everything is broken that when things start to get better, he refuses to actually help Canadians. He's voted against a tax break for Canadians over the next few months. He's voted against the dental care that's helped already well over 1 million Canadians. He is stuck in a place where, as Canadians are starting to come through the difficult times the global economy has put them in, he needs to continue to talk down Canadians, talk down our economy, and scare people into voting for him. It won't work.
Prime Minister and the entire Liberal caucus voted against taking the GST off new homes, which would have saved up to $50,000 for a young couple trying to buy a home, almost $3,000 a year in lower mortgage payments, and would have stimulated an extra 30,000 additional homes built. Even the Prime Minister's own housing advisor said that this was the best housing policy he's seen in a generation. Why does the Prime Minister insist on taxing young people who are struggling to pay the doubling housing costs that he's brought since he took office?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians have long learned that whenever Conservatives make promises, you have to look at the small print. And what the Leader of the Opposition actually proposed was cutting billions of dollars worth of investments to municipalities across the country to create more density, to accelerate the construction of homes, and to cut bureaucracy and red tape. Indeed, members of the Conservative Party have been advocating to invest in their communities, to send money to their mayors. And the Leader of the Opposition wrote a letter in their name saying, no, none of them want those investments in housing. Shame on him, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he's again imagining things. His program does not build homes, it builds bureaucracy. The only density is in his head. Our policy...
there you go.
No.
You can't say that.
No, I'm going to ask the Honourable...
Nice try, though, Pierre.
The Leader of the Opposition to withdraw and to rephrase his question.
Thank you. It's in his imagination, that's all. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister
Still shouldn't be allowed,
wants to tax people up to $50,000 on buying a home so that he can give more money to the very bureaucrats that block home building. It's not that his housing funds don't help. It's worse. They actually block new home building with more bureaucrats. So why don't we follow my plan to slash the bureaucracy, axe the tax, and build the homes?
There you go.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the problem with what the Conservative leader is saying, leaving aside the childish insults, is that his own MPs are going behind his back, pleading to the minister to please send investments to build more homes to their municipalities, are complaining behind his back to the CBC that they can't stand up for their communities. Mr. Speaker, MPs are supposed to be their communities' voices in this place, but he gives them a whap on the knuckles if ever they dare be anything but his voice in their communities.
Before the Honourable Member takes his seat, I'm going to ask the Honourable Member from Niagara Falls to please not take the floor when not recognized.
It is his weird woke liberalization ideology that has caused the 47,000 deaths and the 200% increase in overdoses. But just like he has lost control of the drugs, he's lost control of immigration. Don't take my word for it. The Globe and Mail said, and I quote, the Liberal government lost control of Canada's immigration system, highlighting that there are now 30,000 people who have been ordered deported that the Prime Minister has now lost track of.
Like everything else.
What's his plan to find them and deport them?
There you go. We got to start deporting people, man.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, despite the Leader of the Opposition trying to pretend it's not true, Canada remains the best country in the world. And the fact that we are facing significant challenges like other places around the world doesn't take away from that. We will continue to roll up our sleeves. We will continue to defend Canada's interests, defend Canada's borders, work with our partners in the United States. The Leader of the Opposition can't help himself from talking down Canada and Canadians. We're going to work with Canadians, with provinces in a Team Canada approach and protect Canada's
approach. He says the same thing on repeat.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
We have the best country with the worst Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Best way to put that. That's the best way to put it.
He's weak, woke, and wasteful, and he's lost track of 30,000 people who have been ordered deported but have now vanished. Now, we have millions of other people who are going to come up for exit when their permits and visas expire over the next year and a half. And the Prime Minister won't tell us what's the plan to get the people out of the country who are not supposed to be here.
Yeah, put some W's in the chat. We got the best country with the worst Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians continue to have confidence in immigration as a good thing for our economy. Good thing
No, we
for our
don't.
country, because they know we have a strong and rigorous immigration system that adjusts depending on the needs and the opportunities for Canada to grow and integrate more people. That is what we are continuing to defend. That is what we fight for every single day. While the Leader of the Opposition talks down Canada, talks down Canadians, and puts partisan attacks ahead of reasonable policy solutions, we're going to do the work necessary to protect Canadians and protect our immigration system.
That's great.
Nah, deport. If you need to deport, deport.
Coster, who's lost control of spending, debt, and inflation. Workers are now forced to fight to make up lost wages. That's why last year, Canada had more strikes than any year since 1981. That is, since the last Trudeau was breaking the country and its economy. Now, Mr. Speaker, Canadians are suffering because they can't get their donations to charities, small businesses can't get their payments, and the economy is losing millions. Will he sit down the two sides, get a deal, and put an end to this dreadful strike?
There you go, man. Come on. This is like going on too long.
Conservative Party, whose attacks on unions are well documented from 575 and 377, their anti-union bills that the Leader of the Opposition voted for, from continually choosing to use back-to-work legislation as they did time and time again. We believe that the best deals happen at the bargaining table, which is why the Minister has got the two sides of Canada Post together to try and find a solution that will work. Mr. Speaker, we know small businesses are hurting, Canadians in rural and remote areas are hurting. We will continue to look to help them, and we get this resolved the right way.
He's weak. He has lost control of spending. He has lost control of the debt and of inflation, which means that workers need to fight for a pay rise. And last year, we saw the highest number of strikes since 1981, which was when his father broke the economy. Strike at Canada Post,
like father, like son,
which is hurting our economy, small businesses, nonprofits. When will the Prime Minister get both sides of the table to put an end to the strike? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party's hostility to workers, towards unions, is well documented. I don't need to say anything more about it. But what we will do...
Sucks that was in French, but it's still a pretty good singer.
...are brought to the negotiation table, and that's why we encourage all parties to continue to negotiate, because we know everyone is struggling. Non-profits are struggling. Canadians in remote and rural areas are struggling. They depend on Canada Post, and that is why we need solutions, and we are working on that.
Police have to say about that after a 116% increase in gun crime under this Prime Minister, and a repeat violent offender out on early parole allegedly murdered a 34-year-old woman in Toronto on Sunday. The Toronto police had this question, and I quote, for the Prime Minister, how was this person, with their history, allowed to access a firearm and be alone with a partner when they were supposedly living in a supervised community setting? What answers are you providing to the victim's family or our communities who continue to see the heartbreaking results of your weak policies on crime? End quote.
Wow. Put some W's down.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, despite Conservative opposition, we continue to move forward on bringing in red flag laws and yellow flag laws to make sure that people who are charged with domestic violence don't have access to firearms. Conservatives stood against that and fought against that every step of the way. Just like they're working hard to make legal again assault-style weapons that we rendered illegal in this country 4 years ago. They want to unfreeze the handgun bans, and last time they were in office, they cut 1,100 workers from CBSA to help, who were there to prevent illegal guns flowing in from the United States.
You can't buy assault-style weapons in Canada.
Speaker, he has not banned a single gun. He's spent over $60 million to fail to take a single gun off the road. He's had to give it an amnesty to reverse all of the announced gun bans that he did, standing in front of a cartoon image of a scary Hollywood-style gun. And what has been the sum total of all of this? A 116% increase in gun violence since he became Prime Minister. When will he realize that banning Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle is not going to stop crime?
Yeah.
That instead, we actually have to lock up the criminals.
Wow, who would have thought that? Let's show some support for our boy, the next Prime Minister of Canada.
Right Honourable
Pierre Poilievre, huh?
Instead of trying to scare Grandpa Joe, he should be honest with Grandpa Joe in that we have banned assault-style weapons, and already we've seen thousands of assault-style weapons collected and destroyed. These are things that we are doing that the Conservative Party and its funders, the gun lobby, continue to stand against. They will re-legalize assault-style weapons in this country, unfreeze the market on handguns. That's what they promised the gun lobby, and they hide behind Grandpa Joe because they can't admit it out loud.
Making stuff up. Dude, there are no assault-style weapons in Canada. You can't legally purchase that. That literally doesn't make any sense.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he admitted he doesn't even know what an assault rifle is, let alone able to ban one. He spent $60 million, and his government admits they didn't take a single firearm off the road. There's been a 116% increase in gun violence under his leadership, and 99% of the shipping containers that come in are not inspected at all, even though the previous Conservative government increased the number of frontline border officers. Why is it that the Prime Minister is so busy trying to protect turkeys from hunters that he doesn't protect Canadians from criminals?
There you go. It's about time, man. I'm glad Pierre's doubling down on this. For real, this is so important. If they're so battle ready, the guns, why is Ukraine not taking them?
The Right Honourable
Canada said they would send them to Ukraine. They don't want them.
Not only has this House defined what an assault-style weapon is in law, the RCMP are now acting on that classification.
They're going to change. They're going to fucking change what the definition of assault-style weapon is.
I'm certain all members can exercise
Are you kidding me?
restraint here. I'm inviting all members, please, to do so. The Right Honourable Prime Minister from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, not only has this House defined what an assault-style weapon was over the objections of Conservatives, but we are now removing those guns and destroying those guns while we compensate those who lawfully purchased them. That is what responsible gun control looks like. Unfortunately, the leader of the Conservative Party has promised the gun lobby that he will re-legalize assault-style weapons, reopen the frozen market for handguns, and make things more dangerous for Canadians and particularly for women right across the country. Shame on him!
You're fucking lying! Suck 1,000 dicks, Trudeau! It doesn't make any sense. You can't buy. There are no assault-style weapons in Canada.
Order.
You're making shit up.
The Honourable Member.
And that is the video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit a like on this video and subscribe to this channel. It does really help with the channel growth, and so more people can actually see and be aware of what's going on in Canadian politics. I look forward to seeing you guys later on this evening or even tonight for an actual in-depth analysis as to what the heck is going on with our interest rates and how this is pretty much leading to a recession. I'll see you then. Bye for now.